Hope you are great. I'm glad to be back with you guys again. It just brings us so much joy and so much gratitude to be able to serve and be able to waking up people one thought at a time. That is my motto. My job is to waking up people one thought at a time. So believe it or not, we're on day 4, which is crazy. And today what we're talking about is faith versus fear. And this is a topic I love to talk about. And I think it is very important that we talk about that because essentially I'm sitting here every day saying, guys, you can have whatever you want. And that's all great until little inner voice kind of has a wee word in your ear and says, well, I don't know if I buy into this. I'm not sure if this works. And that's okay. Because the beautiful thing about you is that you have a choice. You have the ability to accept or reject any idea, whether it comes from me, whether it comes from the media, whether it comes from somebody else in your family, wherever, any outside stimuli, you have the absolute choice whether you're going to accept or reject any thought or idea. And what I've been teaching you over the last couple of days is that it is absolutely essential that you understand that every idea that you do accept, whether it's true or not, will actually become impressed on your subconscious mind and will be expressed through your actions. So essentially, you will create everything that you accept as truth. All right. Now, as we've seen through the days that we've gone by, we pointed out, especially yesterday in around the prosperity consciousness, in that your mind is a mental magnet. It will attract everything that corresponds with its ruling state. So if you have some fears or worries about you, or if you're not good enough, then of course you're going to attract things into your life, which is that self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's not what we want. That's not going to help you get to your goal. So today, what we want to look at is the understanding around what is fear and what is faith, because these two things are on two opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay. I've been talking a lot about different laws of the universe. And one of the laws that I love to teach on is the law of polarity. And the law of polarity states that there is an equal and opposite. Okay. There is always an opposite to everything. Now think about this for a second. If this is new to you, I want to help you understand this so that you can accept it. Okay. You don't have to, but I think it will really help you in your life. And essentially what I mean is if the lights are on in this room, I can switch the lights off. If there's an inside to a room, there must be an outside to a room. If there is a front, there's always a back. If there's an up, there's a down. If there's a problem, there's a solution. If there's a wrong, there's a right. Every single thing in this universe has an opposite. And if it didn't have the opposite, nothing could exist. Now get your mind around that for a wee while. Now let me explain it. Here's the book we've been studying. You were born rich. Here's the front of the book, and here's the back of the book. Now imagine there was no front to the book, then there could be no back to the book. And if there's no back, and I'm not just talking about the front cover, I'm talking about the front of anything. If there was no front, there can be no back. And if there's no back and there's no front, well, then there's nothing. Now, why is this important? Well, because you're probably going to have still some things in your mind saying that you can't. But then it would also go to say that you also can. So really what it comes down to is our level of understanding and being able to consciously choose the thoughts, the images that are in harmony with what we want on the outside. When we entertain any thoughts that are not in harmony with what we want, we're giving them life. I think it was day 1, can't remember, we've covered so much so quickly, but I said everything is energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. It moves from one form into another form, and then into another form, and then into another form. You want evidence of that? Look at the sky. You see clouds moving. What's creating them to move? Vibration. What's making them turn from dark, black, gray to then water comes out of them? Like if we didn't know these things existed, we would probably be freaked out that there's water falling out of these puffy white things. Where does the water sit? And yet when there's a change in atmosphere, it changes everything. It's the same with us. When there's a change of atmosphere in which we reside in, the results change. It's incredible. I hope that you are starting to really get this and start. And I don't expect you to be like, yep, got it all done and dusted. That is actually not even possible. Okay. So if you do think you've got it all sorted, then I'd love to chat to you. I want to help you get it. I don't have it all sorted. Bob doesn't have it all sorted. We're always going to be learning. We're always going to be students of this material. Anybody that ever says they know it all really don't know very much. Because you can't know it all. Because everything's always changing. There is infinite potential within you. You'll never probably tap into a quarter of it. But wouldn't it be lovely to know that you've given it your best shot? Wouldn't it be lovely to know that you've got to the end of your life and you have had the best experiences, the best fun, experienced love? That's where I want you to get to. Life does not have to be hard. It really doesn't. Now, it may have been very difficult for you up until this point, and I honestly believe it probably needed to be. Because that's when you meet your better self. At any crisis point, at any point where you feel like you're about to break, if you just persist and you hang in there, what happens is that you meet this new version of you that is all powerful and all knowing and makes it. But a lot of us will cut short, like 3 feet from goal. We're just about to make it and bang, we give up. And what happens then is we settle. So we've got to ask ourselves, are you coming on these every day? Are you determined? Are you sitting with a burning desire that you want more? Or are you just interested? Checking out what this girl with a funny haircut's doing. Checking out what all these other people are talking about. Donna's saying 100% yes. Was that about the funny haircut or being determined? And the reason I'm saying that to you guys is because if you're only interested in these concepts and you're not committed, you probably won't get very far. That's one thing I learned very quickly getting into this material. I burnt the boats. I jumped right in, and looking back, I feel like I don't even know how I did it. I quit a good government job just like that. It was the 11th of November. Never forget it. I had no idea how I was going to generate income. I had no idea how I was going to pay the mortgage. I sold my car just to get a little bit of a deposit for this teaching that I went through. And I hadn't a clue. I was terrified. But I was also really miserable. And I knew, well, hold on a minute. Yes, it's really scary to do these things. Yes, I've no proof. I didn't tell my parents for 8 months that I was quitting the good government job because my mum and dad wanted proof. Show me how you're going to do it. Show me what the plan is. Hadn't a clue. Didn't have one. But what I did have was faith. What I did have was this inner knowing that I was supposed to be doing more. That's why I said to you the other day, I have this little stone on my desk, faith. Because this word on this little stone gives me more power than books and knowledges and pieces of paper that are really just there to try and validate us. You don't need another piece of paper. You don't need to be younger or older. You don't need to be smarter. You don't need to change anything but your mindset. That's it. You're perfect how you are. But yet, sometimes we listen to the little inner critic and we've got to ask, why are we doing that? So today we're going to go over faith and we're going to go over fear. And I wanted to tie into everything that we've been talking about. Now, to do that, what I want you to go back and think about is your goal. Because I said very clearly on day 2, If you do not have a goal, you're going to feel very lost in this life, especially right now. I said yesterday, now is definitely not the time to be sitting back in safety. There is no safety. There is no safety net here. And if you want to be successful, and I believe that you do because you've been tuning into these calls every day, then you've got to realize that that means you've got to do stuff you've never done. That means that if you want to grow, you're going to go through some growing pains. Think about the gym. If you've been, I don't know if you guys have been lately, but if you haven't, then you know what's coming when you go back. It hurts like hell. Why? Because you're stretching muscles and using them, and they're not used to it and they don't like it. And you'll do everything to not go to the gym. Your mind completely gives you every excuse under the sun. And then we go and we train, and then we're in pain for like 3 or 4 days. And you're like, oh, why did I do that? I can't move. I can't sit. And you complain to everybody around you. We've all done it. Okay. Me included. But isn't it funny that the more you go, you don't get DOMS, as they're called, delayed onset muscle soreness. You don't get it once you train, and once you become, you're going to the gym all the time, you start to get stronger. So why would it be any different for your mental muscles? Now, you go to the gym with a goal, and the goal is either to release weight, add weight on, whatever your goal is. So the point I'm getting at is you've got to ask yourself, if you're going to really seriously start to think about becoming the engineer of your mind, what are you engineering to? And actually what we teach, and what I spend a lot of time doing with each of our clients, is reverse engineering from their goal. See, one of the biggest things that holds most people back is they don't know how they're going to achieve their goal. And then that's not really, I don't ever really believe that's the answer. But because even when I show people the how, they go, oh, but what if I can't? So really, there's a couple of things at play here. It's, how am I going to do it? Am I able to do it? What if I can't? What if I don't have the money? What if I don't have time? What will other people say? What if I succeed? Fear of success is a real thing as well. And then when you are a success and maybe you are the number one, that is your most vulnerable place. Why? Because when you're already number one, and when you're at the top of your league, and when you're doing the best, there's a pressure that can come over you to stay at the top. I was talking to my clients the other night about this, the difference between pressure versus standards. You want to have standards to be your best. Don't put pressure on yourself to be the best. You make it a part of your DNA. And whether that's number one or whether that's number 20, it doesn't matter, because you're never competing. Amateurs compete, professionals create. Write that down. Amateurs compete, professionals create. Now, what does that mean, and how do we know which way we're going? Well, if you are feeling tense, if you're feeling like you're jamming the mechanism, like you're forcing things, you're probably in a compete stage. You're on that pole of a more negative thinking. Because if you were working on a plane of understanding and a place from positive mentality, you would realize that there's no rush. You would realize that you have everything you need. You would realize that success is inevitable. But because we're not programmed to think that when we're born, unless you were brought up in a home that taught these principles, which many people have been, which is great, then we put pressure on ourselves. And that never ends out too good. So I want us to really understand today, thinking of that stick person, that picture that I drew of the mind. Because remember what we said, the mind is energy. That's what the mind is. The brain is the circuit board of the mind. The mind is energy, and it works through the brain, and the brain tells where the energy to go through your central nervous system. But mind is energy, and we can't see the mind. So it's pictures that we work with. Okay? So I want you to think about, what is your goal? What do you really want more than anything? Like if Bob Proctor was to say, what's your goal? Would you be able to go right off the cuff? Like, what is your goal? Type into the chat box if you want to get involved with this. What is the clear picture of your goal? From yesterday's prosperity consciousness, what is the amount of money you would love to earn? Now that you know it's not a bad thing to earn money, now that you know that money is important, now that you know that money is only there to extend the good of what you can do for other people, now that you know that money is a servant and you're the master. You see, guys, what I want you to realize is that this material that I'm sharing with you, 10, 20 years ago, you would never have heard it. 50 years ago, you might have been burnt at the stake for it. I don't know history, I don't know my timelines, but you don't normally get your hands on this material. I went and took massive steps in faith to go and get it. And that doesn't make me this woohoo, wonderful Kim. No, I hate that. I'm just me, okay? But the important thing is you're getting to hear this information and you may never get to hear it again. But there's a reason that you're hearing it. When people are saying 20K a month, 45K a month, they don't need to know how they're going to make it. Now, this is the bit that really kind of pissed me off at the start, because I'm going, yeah, that's all well and good, but how am I going to do it? Because I was conditioned to always know the how. And Bob just kept saying to me, Kim, you don't need to know how. That's none of your business. And I'm going, stop with all these little positive quotes. Like, just tell me where and how do I do this? Like, it was driving me insane. But it's an awareness. I can't even sit here and tell you today, okay, this is how you do it. Because there is no magic pill. This is changing your mindset, and that takes a period of time. Understanding the right material, studying the right material, applying it to your life. So it's not something that you can just buy off the shelf. That's why it's so precious. That's why it is so invaluable, because you can't go and buy happiness. You can't go and buy clarity. You can't go and buy security and understanding around money. You can't go and buy it in Tesco's. But what you can do is develop it yourself by understanding how the mind and the laws of success work. So you are fully in charge. That is the cool part about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my drawing board, if that's okay with you today. And I'm going to try and explain faith and fear through a drawing, because we understand through images so much easier. So let me share my screen. Excellent. Okay. So we talked about the mind. We give you an image for the mind. And let's just recap on what that image was. Okay. This is the mind. This is the body. We talked about the conscious mind, which is here. We talked about the subconscious mind, and we talked about the body. Quick recap. The conscious mind is where your thoughts sit. Okay. That is also your intellectual mind. When you go to school, when you get education, it all filters in, but it stays on a conscious level. Really important you understand that. So let's just here's books, here's school, here's education, here's your master's degree, your PhD. But sometimes we see people that are very highly educated, like let's stack on another book just to emphasize, but their results don't always equate to it. Why? Because results come from the subconscious mind. 96 to 97% of everything you do on a behavioral level is controlled by the programming that's in your subconscious mind. Now, if anybody's been getting freaked out about me talking about your mind being programmed, because I know what people in Northern Ireland are like, so I'm just going to put a disclaimer in here. I am not trying to brainwash you. We're trying to brain cleanse you. We're all being programmed. Okay. Programming just means information that you're taking in from your outside world through your senses. You're getting programmed every day by everything, news, media. That's why they're called programs on TV. Okay. So don't worry about that. So here's the results of some people, and they've got all this education and they think they need to know more, and they go and get all these pieces of paper. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with education. I think there's a lot wrong with the education system, but education is important. You need it, but it's not what is the most important thing when it comes to success and results in life. And so many people get all this education, but their self-worth is so rubbish that they actually never get to execute what they have learned because they don't believe in themselves. And then they think, no, I need to go learn more. I got to go get another piece of education. So that was just something I wanted to just go with you on. But essentially what I'm talking about here is giving you a recap of what the mind is and how all of this works. So I also said to you that there is a power or a source in which all the energy comes from. Okay. Now that's the part that I would probably say is maybe the harder part for you to maybe comprehend if this is brand new to you. Okay. That's totally okay. So there's a power that is flowing into your consciousness, and it's what allows you to think. And it's what is helping your heart keep beating, everything working. When you go to sleep at night, your consciousness shuts off, but your subconscious stays open. It has to, okay? Now, if you're struggling with this concept of this power, like what is it? It's up to you what you decide you want to call it, okay? Some people call it God. Some people call it the universe. Some people call it energy. Some people call it source. They're all just titles for the same thing. And it really doesn't matter what you call it. I personally believe in God, so that's what I call it. But I'm also not placing my beliefs on you because you've got choice. So power, I think, is the most easiest term to use. But all religion and all theology and all science, when they've all come together, and they don't agree on very much, but when they come together, they do agree that there is a power. And when you really think about it, there's no spaceships flying in and out of this planet, bringing in things. And look at how much this world has changed. So we've got to ask ourselves, where has all this energy come from? And it comes from the one source, okay? Now, why is this important when you're thinking about quantum physics and human potential? Well, it's important because that power also lives in us. That's your spirit. That's your soul. You're so powerful. And I personally believe we've been placed on this earth to remember how powerful we are. And we go through series of situations, some good, some bad. And the thing is, guys, the bad has to come, because how would you ever know what good is if you didn't experience bad? If you don't have an up, you don't have a down. If you don't have a front, you don't have a back. If you don't have a problem, you're never going to have solutions. If you're never unhappy, you would never know that you are happy. Now, that's a really important thing to get, because we really don't like the bad things. And the other thing is, nothing is actually bad or good. It's whatever we choose it to be. And why is that? Because this power that's flowing into our mind, if you ask somebody from, I don't know, some theologian, what is God? They'll say God just is. If you ask a scientist, what is energy? They will say energy just is. So this isness means that it is neither positive or negative. It's whatever we choose to think, because we get to choose and we get to think for ourselves. We have got higher mental faculties. I talked the other day that you have 6 higher mental faculties. These are your mental tools. Nobody taught me this when I was a kid. Nobody taught me to think. Nobody taught me how to use these tools to basically take this power and move it into form. Now, that's exactly what you can do. It's like clay coming in and you use your hands to make something out of it. So What has this got to do with faith and fear? Well, it's got everything to do with it. And it's got everything to do with you creating your goals, because ultimately in this world, there is a negative pole. So let me draw that for you. There's a negative pole, and then there is a positive pole. Okay. So we talked about this. There's a law of polarity, negative, positive, lack, abundance. Now, you get to choose the lens in which you view the world. So you can see the cup half full or half empty. Now, this is why we've got, pessimists and optimists, and that's what we've kind of fluffed it and generally called it. But you could say you're a pessimist, but you could change. We all have choice to change. You don't just go, oh, that's who I am. I'm going to take that label. Yeah, that's who I am. You don't have to do that. You can choose. So when this power is coming in, you get to think. Now, sometimes what happens, and as I've been doing with you guys, is I've been asking you to think. I've been asking you guys to think of your goals. And as you right now think about your goal, it should be really big. It should be really exciting. You should be like, oh my goodness, like 40 grand a month, 50 grand a month. I have helped more people create 6-figure incomes in months than, I could even count. So I know it is possible. So as you sitting right here, right now, you think about your goal, taking the kids away, having more time freedom, earning X amount of money, and you must know it's not good enough to say, I want more money. I could give you £1, and I guarantee you that's not what you meant, but it's still more money. So what you got to realize is you got to be specific in your request. If I go into McDonald's, which I don't do, but if I did go into McDonald's and I said, I'm really hungry, feed me. Well, the girl or guy is going to look at me and go, well, I don't really care that you're hungry, but what do you want to order? And I'm going to go, well, I'm really hungry, feed me. I want more food. It's going to take me so much longer to get my food. And if I just say that, I run a very dangerous, I could really fall into a place where I could get a gherkin in my burger, and I hate them. But if I'm not specific in my request, like strawberry milkshake, no thanks, vanilla all the way. But if I don't tell this person what I want, I'm never going to get what I want. Like, this is simple when you put it into a real easy analogy like that. So the key is the universe will give you whatever. We've already said yesterday in the imaging or on day 2 about the image maker, you are already using these laws whether you know it or not. So the goal that you have in your mind right now is amazing. But as you well know, and what I explained yesterday is the next thing that happens is your programming, your paradigm jumps up and goes, nah, I don't know. Don't know if that's possible. And then what happens is you start to kick the idea on the goal out. So what is this all about? Well, as soon as we have the goal, you may doubt and worry. That's the thought. Remember, up here deals with thoughts. This deals with feelings. This deals with behaviors or actions. So you might doubt and worry, and that means you've jumped over to this pole here on the negative. Now, the doubt and the worry, as I said to you, must move into the subconscious mind. So the doubt and the worry moves into a feeling. This part of your mind, the subconscious part of your mind, cannot reject anything. Like this, I remember hearing this for the first time, and I was just like, oh my goodness, now I get it. Because if the subconscious part of your mind cannot reject anything, it only accepts, it's like a sponge. And then what it does is whatever it does take, it manifests into physical form. Now, when you think about this, you know it's true because you know, fine rightly, sometimes you've become emotional about an outcome that you don't want and the outcome has happened. So what I'm saying here is that subconscious part of your mind has the ability to accept anything. So wouldn't it be a good idea to give it really good stuff? And that's where the magic in your mind comes in. This is where you can start thinking into your results because you start to know how to use your mind. Those 6 mental tools I was talking about, you learn how to use them, then you can take this energy that is neither positive or negative and you can build an image. This is the image making process. You can decide how much money you want because you now understand there's no lack of money. You just have lack of ideas. So when you start to tap into this creative toolkit that you've been born with and given, it is your gift. It is the best gift you've ever been given. And you start to exercise those mental muscles, which may have a bit of dust on them right now, and that's okay. Then you can start to plant anything in the subconscious mind because it does not know, and this is the big part, write this down. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between something that is real or something that has been imagined. Now, that has been proved and tested all over the world in every research document, in every personal development. It's everywhere. So think about this. It doesn't know the difference whether something's real or whether something's not. So if you tell yourself that you earn 45,000 a month and you do it enough times and you learn how to do it properly, because again, there's a specific process of doing that, you will start to attract, because we live in an attraction-based universe, you will start to attract more clients into your business. You will maybe start to attract more ideas of a business you could build. You could start to attract, I don't know, the love of your life who just happens to be a multimillionaire. Like, I don't know how it'll show up for you, but it'll show up because it's working for you right now. Because if you look at your results, you can look back and go, yeah, I can see where that's come from. If you're being truthful with yourself, you could also pretend to yourself and go, no, this is a load of rubbish and I didn't attract anything. And that's okay. If you want to stay there, stay there. I just think that's wasting more time. So what happens is this doubt and worry, when you think about your goal, as I've just said, it has to move into the subconscious mind and it turns into an emotion because this is your emotional mind. And that's called fear. So you've thought about, I'm going to go and do this. Oh no, I don't know. Paradigm hijacks you. Because when let's just use the example of 45K a year. If you think about earning 45K, a month, your paradigm is going, hold on a minute. You're not a 45-pound person. You don't do that a month. Like, look around you. Look at your house. Look at your car. Look at you. You're not one of those people. And then if we believe that, which we tend to do because why? In here is a much stronger force. Okay, up here is 2 to 4. Then this usually wins the battle. And then we kick that out and we stick to being a 45,000 pound a year person. So the energy we're sending out into the world will only bring you back what will give you 45,000 a year. This is what we talked about yesterday. You have a financial thermostat that lives in here and it always wants to keep this, and this are always the same. Always the same. Always, always, always. Like, that's just like non-negotiable. Your results are a direct reflection to your conditioned way of thinking. So I was earning 35,000 a year. I was programmed to earn 35,000 a year. Even when I went up the bands, even when I did, extra time in the hospitals, I still only ever had this amount of money. Now, yes, I spent it and yes, I did these things, but I was still left with not enough and not being able to do the things I wanted to do. Then when Bob says you could earn that a month, it was ridiculous. I literally laughed in his face. Because it's just like, oh, what have I got myself into? I should have listened to my dad. This is too good to be true. This is just some American guy who can sell. Like, that was where I was. And I'm sure some of you probably maybe think the same about me. I hope not, because I am just a normal person. But something inside me just went, oh, but what if it does work? Because I had no proof that it didn't work. And I had a scientific process that says it does work, but you have to do it this way. Your way is not working. So I literally just surrendered to the process. And that's what you've got to do. But that only happens through understanding all of this stuff. Like the information I'm giving you right now, guys, you should be paying thousands and thousands and thousands for it. But I have such a burning desire to know that you guys need it. Even if you don't want it, you need it because it will change your life. So what happens is thought always moves into a feeling, and the feeling must be expressed in the body. Now, how do you think fear is expressed? It's expressed through anxiety. We've all felt that. It's very, very prevalent right now. Why? Because people are doubting and worrying about where the money's going to come from, what's going to happen. That's putting them into a place of fear. That's being expressed in anxiety. And you know what then happens? The anxiety gets impressed on our body. And then we get sick. And there is no doubt in my mind that that is what's causing this virus to keep growing. No doubt in my mind. Because we're terrified of it. And you don't have to be ignorant and go, oh, there's no problem, let's just all go out. Absolutely not. That's just being just ignorant and silly. But we don't have to look at something and be fearful of it. We can look at something for what it is and go, okay, this isn't great, this isn't ideal, but is me getting upset about it going to help? Is that going to be good for the atmosphere, my anxiety and energy going out into the world, which other people will pick up on, and it's a domino effect? Or can I look at this situation, whatever it is, and go, it is what it is. Harvest the good, forgive the rest. And what that means is it's happened. It's like spilt milk. It's done. You can't literally go back and change it. So we've got to look at it for what it is. This brings it back to here. And we go, okay, I can look at this and see really bad things, or I can look at this and find opportunity. Because if it's bad, it's also good. Because of the law of polarity. It can't be bad if it wasn't good. So right now, in everything that's going on in your life, whichever is going on in the world, there is good in it if and only if we choose to look for the good. And I believe it is an individual choice. And that's why I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can do to help people, and especially here in this country. So this anxiety, if we let it go down this side, I mean, once you've come to here and you've accepted it, this will always automatically happen because in here accepts everything, subconscious. So if the anxiety starts to happen, then that's impressed on the body, and that's called depression. And this is where depression starts to kick off. Now, I worked as a mental health clinical nurse specialist for 9.5 years. I'm very, very aware of how this operates. And the depression, if it's not, you start to understand how the mind works and you start to change things, then the depression moves into dis-ease. And that means dis-ease of vibrational harmony. That's where the word disease comes from. So there's a breakdown. Why? Because you're not in harmony with the true essence of who you are, which is spirit, which is energy, which is always for fuller expansion and expression. You're going against the grain. So those days, those days when you wake up and you're just like, woohoo, I feel good. And you're smiling to people and you want to say hello to the wee woman walking her dog and you could do a wee kick. You just feel great. That's when you're in alignment. That's when you're on the positive pole. But then there's some days you just wake up and you will you do not want to see the wee woman and her dog. Get out of my way. Okay? That's when you're not in alignment. That's when you've decided to go down this side. Okay? So what is the opposite to this? Because everything has an opposite, which I love because it means, again, we can have choice. So what is the opposite? And by the way, the name for the negative kind of stance of things is called ignorance. Okay? Ignorant. Now, normally we would say somebody is ignorant when they're not a nice person, but really ignorance is when you do not understand something. So again, think about if you told me, like if I heard with my sense, Kim, go fly that plane, my thoughts would go straight to, I don't know how to fly a plane. So I would instantly doubt and worry if I could. I would instantly probably feel sick. I would instantly feel anxiety come over me. And now I probably won't become depressed instantly, but this happens over a slower period of time when people stay in this place. So what is the opposite to ignorance? The opposite to ignorance is, let me get this right, is knowledge and understanding. Okay? I now know how to fly a plane, so I'm not going to doubt and worry. So what is the opposite to ignorance? Knowledge and understanding. Now, how do we do that? How do we get to that positive pole of understanding? Understanding is the key. Understanding is when you have an awareness. So for me, I now understand and have an awareness of how to fly the plane. So when it comes to think about it for money, for you, we were talking yesterday, if you are ignorant to understanding money, which most of us are because we were not taught it, then it's very easy for us to become conditioned and believe that you only have your lot. You only have this much. But that's not true. Money doesn't come from your job. Money flows through your job. So if you've got a job that's only paying you $20,000 a year, then yeah, I don't expect that person to pay you $20,000 a month. That would be, pretty ridiculous. NHS was never going to pay me $35,000 a month. So it's not that it wasn't possible for me to earn it. I just had to become aware of another way that I could flow money into my bank account. I became more aware of other ideas. But the big thing for me was I became aware of who I was. If I want to be free, then I've got to know me, not the me you think I should be, not the me my parents think I should be, not the me anybody else thinks I should be. If I want to be free, then I've got to be me, and I better know who me is. How am I going to know who I am? Through knowledge and through understanding. And that can only happen through study. That's where all of this comes from. When you study the science of anything, you become, you know about it. I don't understand the intricacies of electricity in this building I'm in, but I come in every day and I flick the switch on with faith. I don't doubt that it's going to switch on. I don't doubt when I sit in this chair, it's going to hold me up. Why? Because I have knowledge and understanding that it's been built to do that. So if you had more knowledge and understanding of who you were, of how money works, of how you can create what the image in your mind and hold it in your hand, you're going to move into a place called faith. Faith is so powerful. And it's, everybody has to have a faith in something. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about understanding. Faith is the ability to see the invisible, believe in the incredible, and receive what the masses call impossible. One of my favorite quotes, and I have done this so many times. So many times I've always been in situations where I've either been the underdog or I've been, even Bob Proctor said, if there was, when I first met you, Kim, I didn't think you were going to make it. He didn't think I was going to make it, but I did. And I had faith in me. And he then taught me. He said, you reminded me so much of myself when I met you, because everybody thought Bob was a down and out. He even got kicked out of the army because he didn't do what he was told. So faith can only come through knowledge and understanding. That's why mentorship is so important. Because I know there's an abundance of people in this world that want to be free. that want to understand how they can bring the best of them to the surface. And really, when you get into this, you very quickly realize it's never about the money. It's about getting up every day with enthusiasm, with excitement, with understanding of who you are. And when you live on this pole, you don't have anxiety. You've got well-being. And then that moves into acceleration. That's how it's expressed. You start to speed up. You know, when you're in a great mood and everything's going great, you're on fire, you're getting things done, you feel good. So this is the side that you want to be on. And you get to choose. Now, the situation where you're personally at the minute is you're hearing me say all of this information, and I would totally guess that a lot of it you resonate with, some of it you're still trying to work on, and that's okay. But I also know that maybe after 12 o'clock, you know, in the afternoon, in the evening, you can forget about this stuff very easily. You can just go back into doing whatever you've been doing. Why? Because the paradigm is ultimately in control of you. Now, in the Born Rich book, he doesn't necessarily go over fear, but what he does go over is a chapter, and I want you all to read it. I'm not going to go through it so much today, but I want you all to read Let Go and Let God chapter. Now, again, if you're not a religious person, please, 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 for me, don't just cast this stuff away. Okay? This is not a religious program at all, but it does talk a lot about spirit and God. And ultimately, there is a power out there. I don't mind what you want to call it. I do not judge. I have no right to judge. I have my beliefs and they work for me, and you have to have your own. But don't just cast these things away. Read these chapters. He also said in the chapter, Don't Think in Reverse, he says, you will never obtain any substantial measure of material wealth if you insist upon living your life as you are looking back through the rearview mirror. Nevertheless, this seems to be a very common error, which many people have turned into a habit. That is to say, many of us spend most of our present moments floundering mentally in a time zone of the dead and should be forgotten. So think about that. How many times have you, like maybe even now as you're thinking about, well, maybe I should look into this. Maybe I should start to study me. Maybe I should get a mentor. You know, fine, rightly, there's another wee thing pops up and gives you reasons why you can't. Maybe you've done this stuff before. Maybe it never worked for you. I don't know what your reasoning is, but whatever it is, I know that looking backwards is never going to get you going in the right direction. There's a great chapter as well in the Vacuum of Prosperity chapter. And it says, this is page 202, why we hold on to the old. Why is it that we hold on so strongly to old ideas or to old things? I have no doubt that you will agree that this is an intriguing question. In fact, it is so intriguing that if you were to ask 1,000 different people the same question, you'd probably obtain enough answers to fill a book. Unfortunately, however, almost all of the answers which you would receive would be dealing with the secondary causes, not the primary one. And this is the problem. So when Bob talks about secondary causes, we're talking about the law of cause and effect. Okay? Law of cause and effect. The effects are our results. So out here, that is the effect. In here is the thinking, and it is the cause. That's why the law of cause and effect is always equal and opposite. I have a little thing here on my desk, Newton's cradle. I'm sure you have seen one of these before. If I take one little ball, I will get one here. Oh, I can't do this holding it. So you'll get one at the other side. If I take 3, I will get 3 at this side. And that is literally right in front of your eyes, proving the law of cause and effect. Okay? So I did not make it do that. That is what it does. Go buy one and play with it. That is how it works. The sea that I can see right now goes out, and then it comes back in, and then it goes back out, and then it goes back in. That's the law of rhythm. I don't stand on the beach and panic and freak out when the sea goes out and go, oh my goodness, where's all the water? Because I know it comes back. Like, the laws that govern this universe are so precise, and we cannot change them. They were not made by man. They cannot be changed by man. So the easiest thing to do is to learn how to work with them. They're there for us so that we can create an amazing life. Nothing is against us. You might feel like the world's against you, but if you start to rearrange the mind, things will start to change. Remember, the mind is a mental magnet. For all you engineer people out there, I love working with engineers. Any engineers in the house? Every time I work with an engineer, engineers always get this really quick, and I love it. Because you get this stuff because you're working with it. And I always use examples of like magnets. If I had two pieces of steel right here in my hands, and I said, okay, one of these is magnetized, one is not, you'd be very difficult to spot with your naked eye which one is magnetized until you put it to work, because they both look the same. And yet one has been magnetized and can lift so much more than what this other piece can't. Now think of that as people. Now, when you look at the magnets and the way magnetism works, if I was to take a magnet and rub the other piece of steel in the same direction over and over and over and over again through repetition, you can't do it back and forth. You got to do it in one direction. All the little electrons start to line up and it becomes magnetized. The internal starts to change. And then it is more powerful. It's the exact same with us. Once we start to create order in our mind, when we do that, we eradicate anxiety and confusion and frustration. That's the thing that's putting a kink in your hose. Bob writes about this again in another story in The Vacuum of Prosperity. You go out to water your garden and you've got a hose and you pull it round from the back garden to the front garden and away you go, and the water's coming out and it's great. There's an abundance of water. It never ends. But then one time you're doing it and it starts to kind of go drip. And it's like, where'd the water go? And you know, fine rightly, if you turn around, there's a kink in your hose. Now, there was no end to the water. There was just a kink in the hose. Now, what does this mean in relation to this picture? I'm going to make it really messy now, so try to follow along as best you can. Let's say here's the water. Okay. So we're trying to just give you analogies to understand this. So the water is in the hose, in the tap, coming from wherever it comes from, no end, never runs out. And then it stops. So it doesn't come out here anymore. Why? Because there was a kink in the hose. And you have potential energy that has created everything you can see in this universe, allows my voice to go into this, to go into you, to fly across the ether, to pick up in your earphones. Like, I'm not saying that crazy stuff when you really look at what's going on. So this potential energy is coming into your mind, but it's the paradigm, the beliefs, the habits, the self-image, the thoughts around money, the thoughts around everything that then puts a kink in it. And then we wonder, where's the results? Where are they? Now, because this is invisible and you can't see this, it's very easy to blame circumstance. It's very easy to blame economy. It's very easy to blame family. It's very easy to blame your boss. But it's not the outside that is the problem. The problem's on the inside. So when we start to learn to mentally unkink our hose, then guess what happens? It flows. And that's exactly what happened to me. When I eradicated, I hated me. I had no love for myself. I didn't think I was worthy of anything. I didn't think I was worthy of love. I didn't like me. I didn't think I could ever do anything. I was really hard on myself. So no wonder my results sucked. But when I started to figure out who I was, which for me was the biggest part, then I discovered what I love to do. Then when I discovered what I love to do, then I became aware of how to do it to a really big extent, working with the law of compensation, need for what you do, ability to do it, difficulty in replacing you. That's why I'm number one in the world, because I'm hard to replace. I'm not irreplaceable, but I'm really good at what I do. Why? I'm really good at what I do because I figured out who I was. And I figured out who I was because I got into this material. Now, what other people would have wanted me to show them was, well, show me how you get to the end result. But the point I'm trying to get across to everybody is, if you are wanting to see and pave the path, I wouldn't even bother going down the path, because if you can see how you're going to do what you're going to do, it's not a big enough goal. The purpose of goals, the purpose of C-type goals, is to get you to think beyond where currently your imagination can go. And then it's your job to become aware and stretch your thinking, your mindset, by knowledge and understanding, so that you have faith in yourself, so that when you step out and you take action, you're doing it with the right energy that gets a reaction from the universe, which changes the effect. And now you go, boom, I've got it. That's how all of this works. Now, that can be quite a lot to take on if it's the first time you're hearing it. And that's why mentorship is so important. This is why learning this and understanding this gives you the keys to the kingdom, not me. I never want my clients to need me. I want to give my clients the tools so that they then have complete freedom for anything. Because once you've learned to do this just in its scientific way, you can use it for money. You can use it for relationships. Like, so many people are attracting people into their life and they go, I don't know why I'm attracting these people. This person isn't treating me right. This person isn't loving me the way I want to be loved. Well, it makes a lot of sense to me. You don't love you. You have an inner voice putting you down all the time. So why were you so surprised that you've attracted somebody into your life that is verbally telling you that you're not good enough? I'm not saying that to, for you to blame yourself. I'm saying this so that you can actually regain your strength. Sometimes you've got to really become introspective and be honest with yourself and go, yeah, I attracted really bad partners in my life, which then didn't treat me good, which then was, oh, I mustn't be any good because look what they've done to me. When actually, when I took responsibility, I was able to see, I get it. And I'm not even mad at that person, because that person only knew what they knew and their level of awareness was at that place. But I'm going to choose to raise my level of conscious awareness. I'm going to choose me. I'm going to choose faith. I'm going to choose understanding. I'm going to take back control of my life, because when you're in this negative place of fear, anxiety, the feeling of it is awful. It's scary. And I get you don't know how you're going to do it. But if you could just learn this, you will know how to do it. So there's got to be a point that you decide, I'm going to step off this roundabout. I'm going to take control, and I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to take charge of what I do. You can't do it on your own. I do not believe that you can do it on your own. You'll get yourself to a certain point, but since you're the problem and you're the solution, you'll only ever get so far. You need to be surrounded with like-minded people. You need to be working in harmony with universal laws. You need to have somebody to be able to guide you step by step. We have all of that. That's why, again, I'm the number one. And I'm not saying that to go look at me. I'm saying it to impress on you that if I can do it, if hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other people right here, right across this world can do it, then why can you not do it? Don't let excuses that your paradigm throws up stop you. Money, time. The money's here. The time is here. You're spending money, you're spending time, you're spending your thoughts, and you're not getting where you want to be any faster. So it's now about going, I got to make a change. I got to do something differently. And it's trusting in that, just that little part of you, that I know you feel right now, that there's more. That's it. Like, that's the only little thing you just need to just be so precious over, because that's the spirit in you. That's your inner being. That's the part of you that is going, go this way. But we live in such a world of circumstance conditions, looking through our senses. We don't use our higher mental faculties enough. But the people that do, their results completely change. And it's not even that hard. Like, so many times on a Tuesday night, my clients jump on and go, Kim, you won't believe it. And I go, I bet you I will. And they're like, and it was so easy. And I didn't even work any harder. And I'm like, because you don't have to. You're now working in harmony with the universal law. Same as the electricity. Like, they're all governed by the same things. So faith over fear. Faith is something you can't see. Fear is also something you can't see. Both are invisible. And we've got to choose which we're going to go for. And you're choosing, by the way. You're either consciously aware of your choices or you're not consciously aware of your choices. Most people, 97% of the population, are not consciously choosing what they want in their lives. The world's choosing for them, other people's opinions. And what we've got to do is realize both these things are invisible and we get to choose. And if I've got to choose, I'd rather go onto the positive pole. But you got to know how to do that. Okay? So remember, faith is the ability to see the invisible, believe in the incredible, and do what the masses call impossible. Okay? It's incredible when you're able to go out and do something that everyone thought you couldn't. And it's not, please pick me up correctly, never go down that path of, I'm going to prove them wrong. That's not a good attitude. That's not in harmony with this. Do it for you. That's the only person you've got to do it for. And once you do it for you, you will automatically help so many other people because it's infectious. The more you help others, the more you're the source for other people. So we talked yesterday about money. If you want more money, give more money. That's the key to this. If you want more patience from your family, give more patience. If you want more love, give more love. Because when you're the source for somebody else, a little bit of it sticks to you. Okay? Now, as always, guys, I invite you to join us, chat to us, ask us questions. We always want to help. My team have been speaking to a lot of you guys this week, which has been incredible. And that's all we're here for, is to chat 45 minutes to talk about you, your goals, how we can help you, explain what it is that we do. If that's something that you want to hear about, you don't have to do it. But if it's something you want to hear about, and we've got lots of things that can help you. So don't prejudge, just listen to what your heart says. All right? Have you enjoyed today's session? Good, good, good. I'm looking at all the comments. Great analogy. Love it. Brilliant. And that's us. So have a wonderful day, guys. Go and read the chapter on let go and let God. It is absolutely phenomenal. Book in your call with us. Find out what we can do to help you. If we can, great. If we can't, we will not help you. We will direct you where you need to be. But we're here for you. All right. Have a wonderful day. It was fantastic being back with you guys. And I'll see you tomorrow for our last day. Yeah. See you then.